to The Real Study with your hosts, MrSniDBitS,
I don't have a problem with him, but I don't think he's that and a bag of chips.
BlackGirlMarvel,
I cried laughing. That was hilarious.
Tylermakesfilms,
That was like our favorite movie for some reason. I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed that movie.
Allthemoviethings,
I think the thing why I enjoyed it more too was the fact that we were going to talk about it from this perspective.
The Pre-Review with BlindBiggie,
Hey, this is BlindBiggie. Welcome to the pre-review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy.
I'm the Real Study movie voice guy.
Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening, and I am MrSniDBitS, and this is the Real Study Season 2, Episode 15. I'm here with all the movie things and cell phone, wallet, and keys. There is no BlackGirlMarvel. As we've said, she's on her hiatus doing a play this month, and she's having a blast doing that. So, again, congratulations to her and all her success there. And then no Tyler tonight, but that's okay. We have plenty on our plate, if you will. I'm going to try to take up the slack where he might normally jump in with 3 films about chefs. Right, we're going to do lots of food puns. Chefs, restaurants, and food in general, and pretty much gourmet food. And quite a bit of John Leguizamo, that's right.
I mean, just 2,
But still, he had
been amazing if he was in Burnt somehow.
Right,
but...
that would have been great. So yeah, Chef, Burnt, and The Menu, all small titles as well. I always find that interesting, how the titles fluctuate. That said, we're going to move over to the main screen and say hello. How is everyone this week?
Good, doing good.
Yeah, busy.
Right,
But a good busy.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I've just been working and being here doing movie stuff this weekend. At least I watched most of these movies last night and today, so just trying to keep them fresh in my head. That said, we want to, of course, do what normally BlackGirlMarvel would do, which is tell you please follow us on social media across the board. As you can see, everything listed right there is a great place to start. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, there's a Discord, and then we have, of course, a podcast, so you can follow us all over the place on Apple Podcast, Anchor, etc. And as always, you can jump into the Discord and talk to us and ask direct questions and request movies, because we do love a good request, and we have a nice big pile, and we like having an assortment of movies to pick from. So if you put one in there, we might pick your movie and throw it on the show. That said, we're going to talk about several movies tonight, and I'm going to pull up the first one right now because I have a little handy thing that one of our longtime Real students, Ray, has requested that we actually put the film up when we're talking about it so that you can just pop in and see what we're talking about.
There you go.
So there is now
Good idea.
a chef poster. Let's hope it doesn't get us ripped down for some stupid copyright thing. We'll see. And then maybe I'll fluctuate it next week if that's what happens. So anyway, let's go right into Chef. I assume you guys may have seen this movie once before this viewing, because this is a fairly well-known film, although kind of slept on early on in the first couple of years. Why don't we go with all the movie things? What did you think of Chef?
I love this movie. Yeah. Actually, like the first time I saw it was not too long ago, actually. Prior to this, of course, but it was like maybe a month or 2 ago I just saw it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like super recent, and I don't know why. It was just one of those movies I kept putting off. I always heard good things about it, and it's kind of this like random movie that Jon Favreau decided to do, to get out of his system, I guess. And then he did like a whole like kind of like a not really a reality series, but like a documentary based show with like, I guess, one of the chefs that he like consulted with for the movie is on that show. I just love everything about this. It's like heartwarming, it's funny. It's like this, it's almost like like a redemptive arc, but then there's also like this road trip element thrown in. It's got all these different cool, great things in it about it. So and it just makes you so hungry. I mean, like every one of these movies, I was just like man, just some great like food B-roll in all these movies. So for sure.
I agree. I actually brought some screenshots tonight to throw up because that's terrible. I shouldn't say that. To put up on the screen for us to talk about, because that is a huge part of these films. The cinematography of food, if you will. Great stuff.
Yeah.
How about you, Mickey? What did you think of A Chef?
So actually, this was my first time watching it.
Oh.
I had known about it, and again, one of those things, like Brian said, just kind of I'll watch it eventually, and never did.
Yeah.
I was very thankful that we got to watch it for this because I really enjoyed it a lot. It was good to see kind of Jon Favreau get back to like, I mean, I don't want to say it's an indie film, but you know what I'm saying, more low budget,
closer to like his roots.
Yeah. And you know, out of all the movies, this one had the food that looked the best to me, so that was really nice. It was very appealing. I love the father-son dynamic. I'm a sucker for a father-son story, so that really was very special to me. Surprised to see a few people in it. I had no idea that Scarlett Johansson was in it or Sofia Vergara.
RDJ in there.
Yeah, he popped up and I was like, oh, he's just Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He really was, but like 2008 Stark, like
Yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed the story from like beginning to end. It totally felt very relatable, like trying to find time with your kids, you know, and you're also chasing your dream. And I was vibing with the whole thing. And yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by the film. Very happy to watch it.
All right, yeah. Oh, I agree. This is my third viewing. I didn't watch it right away. I was one of those naysayers. It was like, well, I know I'll get to it, but you know what? It couldn't be that great. And then it turns out to be just stellar. Just a really well put together film with great highs and lows, but nothing too preachy and nothing too serious. Kind of a little bit of the nice blend. I think Favre is brilliant kind of everywhere you put him near a camera. You put him behind the camera, he's brilliant. Put him in front of the camera, he's brilliant. He's comedically funny. He can play serious. And that's a rare blend, and you wouldn't expect it from just this kind of average looking dude. There's this guy, right? He's just a dude and always has been. He's never been like the Brad Pitt, you know, no offense, John, you know, but I think he knows that. He plays into that, right? So it's nice to see him stretch his legs like he did with Swingers and other things back in the day and actually play in a film where he could just be a dude instead of having to play, you know, secondhand to a superhero or whatever. So I agree with you there. Anybody relate to him wanting to go off on the critic? Because we are critics and that's kind of what we do on this show. And so that scene to me, of course, that's what Tyler had used for the promo, and it's a crux, you know, it's a huge part of the movie. Without it, you know, the truck never happens. But I always feel weird in those moments because I felt like him and want to do that, but you know, it's social suicide to try.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting because that's still true no matter what you do, no matter how much internet there is or isn't. It's still social suicide to clap back at the critic, if you will.
I thought it was kind of interesting how Twitter was used in the movie. I know it probably wasn't. I know it wasn't like brand new at the time, but people of that age were just getting used to it then. I think I was probably just getting used to it then. I was late to that party too, but yeah, definitely not knowing how to navigate that world and how that can be very bad for you. Like you say the wrong thing, or you don't know exactly who you're talking to. You're talking to everybody. You're talking to one person. So easy to make those mistakes. That whole rant, you know, where he's exploding on the guy, you know, usually you would probably just see that in a text on a tweet, not like in person, in face. Although now it would probably be a TikTok, right? Where it's like a drama back and forth. So that was really cool. The whole social media part of it was interesting.
Definitely. Dustin Hoffman, just why not?
Out of nowhere.
I mean, that's just another, you know, actor you see in this that's like that, like just pops up, you know. I mean, like Robert Downey Jr. is just in there.
But they're filling out
You
the
know?
world, right? They're definitely rounding out those edges.
But they're like huge. you
He
know what I
definitely
mean?
called in some
So-
favors for this film.
Yeah.
it felt like.
Yeah.
But Dustin Hoffman, even with that small part, was like really good. Like,
Oh,
it really
yeah.
stood
Oh, you
out.
wanted to smack him so much.
By the-
Like you
By the end
hated
of the
him.
movie, like he was still in my mind. Like, man, Dustin Hoffman, good job. man.
Yeah.
I don't think he got where he was because he wasn't at least going to show that even in the smallest little role.
Right.
But I mean, that's got to be harder in a way though, because you've got to pack more of your ability to fill out that character in a much shorter time. So I assume for an actor, that's got to be a tricky thing on some level. I mean, sure, if you're good, but at the same time, he had to commit to being a restaurant owner for what, 15 lines, 20 lines? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't that many. Yeah, I don't know. It just shows the brilliance, I think, of course. The kid, I think, did a great job keeping up with John Leguizamo and John, if you will. The two Johns. What am I thinking? Two Johns. John with an H, one John without. It is, I don't know, it's such a fun, simple story, but it's like timeless, but also full of that Twitter monetization. But now, you know, it's a weird that it is the kind of old hat. I was thinking when you said the TikTok thing, Mickey, that it would be both sides that would record it and try to spin it these days, because everybody has social media. You know, he wouldn't have gone in blind. You know, his son taught him, obviously. Casper would be pretty good at social media by now, I would hope, or at least doing better with it. So, what on the menu from the truck would you guys absolutely want to eat?
All of it.
The Cuban.
If you could only have one thing, he's like, you get one item for free. You know, here it is.
A Cuban is like my favorite sandwich anyway. So when he was talking about making Cubans, I was like, I'm in, man. Let's do this.
Although I did love, like when he was in Texas, when they were in Austin.
Oh
man, that Austin
right?
midnight. Oof.
The midnight. Yep, that's the one. That one, oh yeah, no, just every time they had a slice of meat or a big half chunk of meat, and they were just cutting little pieces off it, I was like, can I come sit down for a minute?
You could smell it.
You could, It was so good.
I mean, and that gentleman actually, when they went to Austin, he's like, I remember his name, but he's like a legit known for Austin barbecue.
The barbecue guys, I've seen them on the Food Network a few times. They're they're up there, man. They're well known.
So
world famous.
So the Cuban is such a simple sandwich, but it's still
so good.
You'd think the pickles would, I don't know, for me, I think the pickles would be a problem, but they don't,
it's crazy. And like all that mustard, and the pickles, and then like it just, but I mean, man, like, and like when they cut through it, like the crunch cutting through the bread and everything. Oh man, I'll tell you, like, I mean, there's a thing, a food artist is a thing, and it's so can sell, a menu item or food or like anything. And I think like the sound design really helped with that. And it was so, man, really great. I thought Burnt had some really great food cinematography as well.
Agreed.
I was like really hungry with that one too.
I totally agreed. The chef that did consult with Favreau on this film did have stipulations. He was like, you need to get good with your knife skills, and you need to act like a chef would act in the kitchen. So the way we fold our towels, the way we interact with our crews, etc. So I like that. And then of course, like you mentioned, that show is called The Chef Show. I think. And I was watching it, part of it today, just to kind of delve into it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I started watching that before I actually watched the movie.
Oh, that's great. That's great. But I mean, you could see why he got excited about making the movie and how he got the right chef in there with, because what he said was that Favreau just kind of melted into the kitchen with them perfectly. Like he was like one of the guys almost immediately. He was
there's that cool little behind the scenes thing in the credits that they show.
Oh
where he's like showing him how to make the grilled cheese. Like he's
so much care and like so many
Yeah.
specifics to making a grilled cheese.
I know. Yeah, like just a grilled cheese. But damn, it looks so good though. Better than any grilled cheese I've ever made.
That
And,
grilled
like,
cheese,
man.
it is so beautiful, and so how many slices of cheese
Oh my
did
god.
he
That was a
put
lot.
on that? I think it
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
6 or some ridiculous number.
And they're all and it's different cheeses too.
Yeah, they're
Right,
all
right,
different,
right.
yeah.
yeah,
right.
yeah,
And so here I'm gonna put the
Man.
cheese up, the grilled cheese up, and it's so beautiful. Like
yeah.
you can, grilled cheese is probably one of my favorite sandwiches
love- oh, yeah.
anyway.
Man, I love
Like
grilled
kind
cheese.
of like
Yeah.
a rule.
Oh man, look at that thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Such a beautiful sandwich, and it's one of my specialties because I've always had the like mastering of the timing, which is so important with a grilled cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm a butter on the bread, put it in kind of person. I don't know how you guys do it, but I feel like that's the only right way to grill
Yeah.
cheese.
I've actually used like a type of mayo before too.
Ooh,
On
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
bread.
My
And
wife
that-
does the mayo.
Yeah, adds a little like yeah.
Yeah. But it gives a
a
little
little
different. It's a
something to it.
little bit because it's egg instead
Yeah.
of butter. So it is
Right.
a tad different.
Yeah. There was one shot that really stood out to me. I watched it a second time, like just before the show, and there's a shot because we were talking about how much he got into it.
Mhm.
There's literally there's a couple of them, but in the opening, there's a tilt from Favreau's face, and we tilt down to his hands, and he's like going to town chopping, and I was like, whoa, like that's
Yeah.
really him like doing that. It's like, damn, yeah. So he did.
He took it on.
He got good.
Yeah, not
But
everybody
then
will.
There's another one where they tilt up from his hands to his face again. So it's like,
I love it when they do that with
reiterating.
piano in movies as well. When you like,
Yeah.
oh
Mhm.
shit, they play the piano. So I do
Yeah.
appreciate it either when they really do
Mhm.
or when they do the work, which is
Yeah.
great. So the meal that he made, what I call the revenge meal, where he was so pissed about getting fired that he goes home and
Mhm.
makes the meal. That's some of the stuff
Yeah.
they make on the chef show, and there's the berry thing. But I loved watching him make that
Mhm.
because he went home and made whatever the hell he wanted, and I feel like that was almost the
Yeah.
inspiration to do the truck.
It's like he had to get it out of his system.
Right. That was the
In a way, because he's like, yeah,
because that probably was a
Angry
lot of
cooking.
what he wanted to serve that night, and
Yeah.
which is just pretty
yeah.
great.
Oh man, yeah, I want that right now.
The steak though is making me die
Jesus.
over here.
Oh,
It's looking
yeah,
so
yeah.
good. So
It's amazing.
yeah, no, it's pretty great.
And it's kind of it's crazy too because it's like another thing that like I was really attracted to about this was because like the food truck and like Snitty, like and Portland's kind of known. We're like this is like a food truck city.
it is.
I mean,
There's a whole
been
section of
multiple, like,
town
shows.
where they like
There's-
do
and they're
stuff,
all over the place,
right? And then
though,
now
like,
they're
there's, like-
everywhere too. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
there's like huge pods of just food trucks, and there was even like well-known restaurants in town that like either didn't survive the pandemic or they had to close down, but they went into a food truck instead, and they're still like
Mhm.
hanging on. I
Right.
mean, so it's amazing. Like, and it's just incredible how much food, and you kind of see it like culturally. I mean, around like the Cuban kind of sandwich and just food in general is such a cultural thing and such a social thing. And like for him, like it really, he mentions it too, how much it's like he does what he loves, and it like he's able to like give that to people, and it
Yeah.
brings them, something, better in their lives. And that's how he looks at it. I mean, it's not just, he's not just feeding people, he's doing something passionate. And that's the thing about food too. Like we see like these pictures of it, and it's like, oh my God, it looks so good. But then there's this other aspect of it, and I think I've really become, especially living in Portland, because it's become such a food town, which like I was born and raised here. It was not like that when I was a kid. There was no, I mean, it was pretty basic, but like it just like exploded somehow, and like
I'm gonna do
it's
a
been
weird plug for
really great.
a food truck up there, but I want to know if you know if it's
Yeah.
still around. It's the Giant Egg. Is that thing still around up there,
the Giant Egg.
or the
So
Big
there
Egg?
is-
Maybe the Big Egg is what it's called.
There's this one that used to be a food truck, and now they have actual restaurants called Fried Egg. I'm in love.
Oh, okay. That's a
There's that
great
one.
name.
Yeah. There's a couple of those. So it started as a food truck, and then now they have like actual restaurants.
Much
beside the
like
truck.
El Jefe,
But-
he
Yeah.
turned it into a
Yeah,
restaurant, which was
exactly.
great.
Yeah. So
And spoiler, sorry,
yeah.
but if you've watched, I hate to be like this, but if you've watched, any amount of some Hallmark movies or just, stories about life, the basic plots there. If you can't see the end of this movie coming, I don't know what you're watching it for.
Right.
I'm watching it
Yeah.
for the
It's
fun
good
and the
food.
food, right? So
Yeah.
I almost want to
Yeah.
cook food while watching this movie and try to
Yeah.
keep up, but they cut way too fast.
Yeah, you're right. I thought about that too. I was like, man, I would love to like try to make a Cuban,
Right.
And like full disclosure, I've actually never had a Cuban sandwich, but like they look amazing. I mean, every time I watch this movie, it's like I gotta
the pasta.
get one in my mouth.
So the chef show has an episode called the chef show chef recipes, meaning from the movie, and they go over the berries and the berries, the pasta that Scarlett Johansson has that apparently she actually still talks about because
really
she loved it so much on the set.
Man.
So yeah, that's one, and I even got a picture of that one. It's hilarious. So yeah, the pasta with the twist. They even had a chef on the show, a YouTube chef that came on who was so obsessed with the movie that he got the tattoo of the fork that he uses to stack that pasta. And so Favre gave him the fork. He was like, "Here's the fork, dude." So I thought that was kind of cool.
Damn.
There's not a lot of behind the scenes stuff I could find for this movie, so I thought the show was almost like a nice little bit of behind the scenes. So anyway, that does look really good, other than the hand being in there. Not a fan of the hand, but
yeah.
So yeah, that one's like six items for the recipe, and it seems pretty easy. Just get your razor blade and start cutting the garlic,
Yeah.
So,
Man.
anyway,
That's my thing too. Like I'm so impatient when it comes like normally I'm a pretty patient person, but for some reason when it's like food, I'm like I just want to eat. I don't want.
Are you a cook on high kind of guy? Do you like turn it up and just like I'll just do it faster? It'll happen faster.
Like I cook. I keep it pretty high, but then there's like certain things that I like not to toot my own horn, but I make a pretty good burger, like a decent like pan cooked burger, and growing up, like my mom, like we were pretty poor, and like we would have like just a terrible beef patty kind of burger. My mom would like burn the shit out of it, and she'd cook it all the way. And like me, like I've learned to like do all these different things and trying to like add my own thing, but I'm terrible at like making my own like recipes for things. I can't do that. Like he talks about that in the movie too, like finding the ingredients and creating something from the ingredients that you can find. And I'm like, no, I need it. I need to see it. I can't figure this out. Yeah. So
I kind of cook on a like instinct level, but like I don't really like. I don't dive too deep into it, like where I'd be great at it. But I'll smell stuff and taste stuff and be like, this would be pretty good together. And I'll just kind of wing it a lot of times. Sometimes you got to hit, sometimes you got to miss.
See, I just watch videos and look at recipes and then follow along. And I tend to do all right. I don't stray. I used to stray, but it was never in a good way. It was like, oh, I'm 20. What goes with what? And being wrong the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all you have, when you're 20 and poor. But John Leguizamo in this movie is so spot on and so
he's so great,
perfect, and his like delivery is always just like almost like a half beat off in a very precise and great way, where his dialogue is coming in almost on top of other people's, but in that very believable, like sidekick witty way.
I actually like prefer that too when they do that, like because no one talks like that, like in an actual. We're not sitting here waiting. I mean, you should kind of like wait, but like. There's still like interjections here and there, and you're kind of talking on over each other a little bit. You're near the end of everyone's sentences, but so I actually like really appreciate that kind of timing, where we can hear other people, and it can be like anxiety inducing. Like in I think Uncut Gems, they do that really well, and I was just like, oh my god, like that's I can hear so much. And so little though, it's like, oh my god, what's happening? Yeah,
but it's like, to your point, in here when we're talking, sometimes it's the conversation rolls to a point where we're all agreeing, and it's a ruckus. And there's something about that ruckus that's like social and fun. And there's some people that can't do active conversation in some ways because they feel like if they just don't give me my time, Now I'm
Oh
done.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
weird to me. I don't work that way as well. Obviously, we've been doing it this way for a long time, and not everybody
Mhm.
rolls like this. Live
No, totally.
is tricky. People don't realize how tricky it actually is. You have to have the energy right away, and you have to keep it up, and you have to find things that are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's why I was never like a 2-person panel. The more people you have, the quicker the brains will roll things out to talk about. There's the secret. There's the secret. That's why most panels, even in the news, have 5 people, because it's easier than people think. Yeah. Anyway, that aside, that kind of asided there, but I would love a food truck, and I've always kind of wanted one. But at the same time, if you do one now, you're like, oh, you're kind of a poser if you have a food truck, because everybody's done it. And you know, it's still restaurant work, so it's still going to be hard to make money at it unless you have like the perfect thing to sell. His story is not the typical story for food trucks.
Well, I think it's like a good example of what to do. It's like he found this niche, you know, and that's the way it is here in Portland. Like, I mean, yeah, you do have your multiple, like there's multiple like Thai trucks and Vietnamese trucks and stuff like that. Those are like kind of staples, but man, there's like that fried egg. I'm in love, man. They like found a niche and it took off. It's like they're like, oh my god, they're so good. Like if you ever get to Portland,
we're up for sponsorships for fried egg and I'm in love. You know,
they're so good. But yeah, you just got to find that niche that hits, you know, and it can take off. So
I've always thought like great restaurants usually have a simple menu. Like they stick to something they do well. And I think that's what makes food trucks so successful is they usually have a very small menu and it's very niche, very direct.
Right.
And a lot of times you'll go into like, you know, a restaurant and there'll just be like several different kinds of cuisine on the menu. And you're like, I don't know what I want. They give their like, they give a piece to everything instead of their all to one thing. So I think that's really a plus for a food truck or a really small, like, you know, hole in the wall restaurant. We do the best cheeseburgers. We're just going to sell cheeseburgers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I think of like those like chains are really bad at it, like Red Robin. It's just like everything. And it's just none of it's like that great. You know what I mean? So like Applebee's
is a good way.
Like,
that's the look, it's a steak cooked exactly like in the picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Isn't there a rule like if the restaurant has pictures of the food, you should probably go somewhere else? I heard there's a rule about that.
But that makes sense though.
Doesn't it seem to follow like, look, it's a burger. Yeah, you don't have to show me. Just say burger. I know what a burger is.
Yeah, I think that goes with, you know, the putting your love into the food, right? So if there's something you love, like I love BLTs, and I was like, I would just have a restaurant that sells BLTs. Like, and if I made the best damn BLT and put my soul into it, it would probably be a whole lot better than BLT a la carte off of a Cheesecake Factory menu.
Now, would you make the bread and slaughter the bacon, or would you just buy the best ingredients for those?
So
I mean, if you're gonna go just BLT only, like you gotta go there.
Yeah, I don't think I've told anyone here this, but my day job is a butcher. So like,
wow.
I could
That's dope.
Do the pig thing, but I would probably just buy a pork belly and slice it up and you know, smoke it or salt it or something.
Oh my god, stop it.
Okay, so no, I'm actually like, this is hurting me.
Man. Yeah.
So you're gonna make BLTs, freeze dry them somehow, and then ship them because we're pretty far away. A BLT's not gonna last.
Yeah.
Could you like Hello Fresh it somehow, or like
vacuum seal it or something?
Something. I don't think we want to pay for a refrigerated truck to get it out here.
With the ingredients separate, you just put it on.
I mean, that's all we need, right?
Yeah.
I love how we've totally shifted into
food. It's hard not to.
What happens when you talk about food? Yeah.
Okay, so here I give a great segue to get us back in. So, you know, if it gets too humid, you know, we could always, you know.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Sorry, I saw that on the shelf when I was coming in here. I was like, oh, that's perfect. So.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Neither have I.
I mean, and it gets pretty humid in the Gulf on a ship.
Oh yeah.
We never did that. So I want to say too, like going back to John Leguizamo, like he like he just, like you said, like he just felt natural in this. Like he just fit so well. Like there's the mo where he's on the John Favreau's on the phone with Sofia Vergara, and
That
he's
was
in
the
background,
greatest.
like doing an impression of her, and just killing it. It's so good. I'm like, oh my god.
I kind of feel like they probably know each other really well. So they're
Yeah,
just having
right.
a great
Yeah,
time with it.
totally. Yeah.
So they're both
Yeah.
Colombian. I found that out, and I did not know
Yep.
that. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. I don't know. I relate so much to the Favre character, to the Casper character, just because he is a dad and he's older and not successful in that way that he thought he would be, and I can relate to all of that, you know. And it's an easy movie to fall right into if you relate to that person. And then, like I was saying, I didn't really get to talk about it much, but the whole idea of going off on somebody because you genuinely feel they deserve it, especially with public humiliation. I know that's a taboo thing and you're told not to do it, but who hasn't felt like doing exactly that? But then you do kind of feel bad because he starts screaming, "I'm not losing control. You're not stressing me out.
He's not getting to me.
You're not
Yeah.
getting to me. You're not getting to me. It's molten." I don't know. So you know not to do it, but at the same time, I mean, who hasn't always wanted to do that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
To someone, you know, in their life, one way or
Yeah.
another. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would
although
be.
I've like never been in that kind of position where I've had. I mean, I have, but I haven't. Like I've been pretty lucky, knock on wood, in that regard. Like I've had a few things public, you know, like in film school, you everything builds up to your thesis film, right?
Mhm.
And here, like where I went in Portland, was like they screen everything at this local theater called the Hollywood Theater. It's been around forever. It's like known in Portland, and it may even be known outside of Portland too. But it's a great theater, and like it's just a crazy experience that your short film gets to be screened at an actual theater. And I wanted to like vomit. I never felt so sick in my life. I mean, and so yeah, I can't imagine like, yeah, you put like I did put my heart and soul into that. So it's like I definitely feel what Favreau's character is feeling, because it's like you put everything into it, you know, and it's something you've worked your whole life for too, and just like, and like his whole team, you know, he has all these people working with him too that believe in him, and there's all that kind of element.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, how do you hold that in, you know, when it's like you don't know shit about what goes on into making this, you know what I mean, and you just get to like the end result, you know what I mean. And that's why it's too, like, knowing, like, when it comes to like critiquing films, it's hard for me to like really tear apart a movie. Like I have to say, like, that's why too I tell people, if I think it's bad, it's pretty fucking bad. Like it's really pretty bad. But
I've been
something.
reviewing with you for a long time at this point. I can
Yeah.
say I agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean, but because I'll always find something, because I'm seeing what's going on behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm like, man, these guys did such a good job at like, or like, oh man, that was, you know, that had to be hard as hell to put together to achieve. So it's like, yeah, I definitely feel, you know, I think we all kind of did to some degree what when he's just exploding
Mhm.
at him, just like, man,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Do you get judged as a butcher for your butchery, if you will?
Not too much, you know, like
Yeah.
Is it more mechanical
yeah,
in
you
that sense?
can-
Like it's just there's right and
Well,
wrong, or
I don't think so, because a lot of people kind of have different approaches to it, and like
Mm.
a lot of people also have different like preferences on things, like how much fat you trim off and
Sure.
all that stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and where their cuts come from. But uh, not really. I approach it kind of like art, you know. I have a certain way I like to make things look, and I mean,
Oh, yeah, of course.
well, the way that
I
meat looks when you go to buy it will matter how much. Like I will pass on a piece of meat that doesn't look that good. So I'm.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, that's
Right.
that's the
oh yeah,
that's the first world version of me, obviously saying that. But you know, if it's the wrong color, if it's too thick, if it's, you know, those, so that there's that element. So it's subjective to your customer, or to
yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it: angles and oxygen and light and that matter a lot to the, like you say,
Yeah.
the color and the consistency and stuff like that.
And this is relevant because these chefs in all of these films obviously take all of this into account. That's one of the things, especially with this film, Chef, where they are cooking that meat. I mean, the way that John Leguizamo's character is rubbing that meat to the beat of the movie, he's really getting into it. And I'm just like, dude, he's literally putting love into that meat. And when they taste it, they taste that,
the time it takes to master what he's cooking, that I think it's like a pork shoulder. I'm not sure.
I think it's a pork shoulder is what it looked like to me.
I mean, I know guys, here that cook really well that have been doing that all their life, and like it took them so long to master how to cook something that well, that long, and get it right every time, like consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the equipment; it's also, I'm assuming if you're cooking on a truck,
exactly, it's the knowledge, it's the experience, it's like chemistry,
right?
Yeah.
But even like on a truck in Miami, but he was just in LA cooking in a kitchen. The temperature difference, the humidity difference.
Oh yeah.
All of that would have to be taken into
just
account.
A different environment,
right?
Like
So
there's actually like what Mickey was talking about was reminding me of this reality show that was all about barbecue, and I was fascinated by this. This thing hooked me, and I could not stop watching it. It was not only because like it's amazing food, and I was hungry the whole time, but just like what these people had to know about different meats and different cuts of meat and how those are gonna like respond to heat and different seasoning, and like, oh my god, it was fascinating just watching them go to work.
So we're just gonna become the real study food.
We're gonna do a whole other podcast.
We have another food. The real food, right? I don't know if there's enough food movies, but we could just like veer off. Like there's got to be quite a few, but some of them are going to be horror movies. And do we really want to go there, or maybe get those out of the way? The Soylent Green, the cook, his wife, the thief, and her daughter, or whatever, her lover. Like that's some disturbing food movies out there. That's a weird movie if you want a weird food movie. That said, anything else about Chef specifically that we want to cover? Because
I just to say that the young man who played his son was really great. He did an excellent job.
See,
Percy.
MJ.
Yeah.
Anthony is his name.
Yeah.
I think one last thing from me. Brian brought it up earlier about how much care like Jon Favreau put into everything, and that really showed when his son burnt the bread, and he was anyway. That was great. And Jon Favreau's like, I need to talk to you outside. Like, you got this. And he went out there and he just told you, like, I mean, we're not just cooking food for these people, and like, and it was a thing about like, putting your pride into it, your heart into it. Like, don't serve people crap just to get an easy buck or something like that. That was one of the parts of the movie that really stood out to me, and like I was like, man, I totally get that.
Because like that represents him in a way, and all of his experience and everything that came before. It's like you want that to represent you when you're like you're presenting yourself to these people. Basically, it's like no one wants that. So that was a great scene, and like, and it's funny too because like the Percy was like responding to him because like he never really said yes, chef, the whole time until that conversation. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. It's like, oh, there's this level of respect now.
But I like how since he got that respect, they also started bringing him in on all the dick jokes and all the sex jokes, the beer. They let him be a little more adult, and that's a lot of kids need that, right? At that age, they need to be shown that you are showing yourself as a stronger adult in that sense, and that's the real element to this film. That didn't feel like it was just thrown in from a movie. It felt like it was real life experience, maybe, or maybe Favre did that with his dad or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
felt like it was experience.
Yeah.
So, the Sofia Vergara moment where she's trying to explain how she did not have sex with Robert Downey the second time.
Oh my god, yeah.
I love when men feel so insecure in movies that they have to find out, and then the very moment this trope is true,
no, never mind.
They don't want to know. And as she keeps explaining, he's like, "I just told you I don't want to know," and they go on, and then finally she's like, "No, I never slept with him."
But we couldn't go through with it,
right? But I think he didn't want to know that even more. he doesn't really allude to it, but knowing they were so close they couldn't do it might be more painful. But obviously, alas, again, if you haven't seen the movie, giant spoiler, they get remarried, which is a trope you don't see often in films, which I think is great. So that was refreshing to be like, oh, sweet, okay, they really were in love. He was on the wrong path for a while, is what it seemed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one can give you a little tear if you're soft in the films, in the feels for film. My wife and I were talking about how we're both very soft for music, film, TV. Can just anytime something emotional pops up, I'm like, okay, give me a minute. I'm terrible. I cry at everything. So even fun movies like this can make me get all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They love each other. So anyway, why don't we rate it? And we have 2 other films to discuss, and both as interesting in my opinion as this. I think that we had quite the trifecta of films this week. That's just my view. So we'll go ahead and rate it as we always do. All the movie things. What is your 1 to 10?
I'll give this movie an 8.
Nice, it's solid rating.
It's solid. Yeah. It's definitely rewatchable too. I mean, and it's just like it's just like a kind of a feel good movie. You get to see him go have this like arc, this great arc, and this kind of connection with family, and it makes you so hungry. That food's so good. Man.
Don't watch this movie hungry. You will be starving at the end.
I had dinner before I watched it, and I was still like, damn, I just ate, but I still want all this.
See, that's what I think you should eat it on a full, or watch it on a full stomach. That way
watch it while I'm eating.
Watch it while you're eating. But then you're going to eat the food and go, that doesn't taste as good as that looks.
Yeah, that's not the same. So,
unless you're a chef.
And then just like, everything kind of like resolves in just like a nice feel good kind of thing. Yeah, so
which is nice.
Love it.
Not all movies do this. They don't just go,
no,
look, life can be good. Most movies, want to show you life sucks in one way or another. So except for comedies, but this is, this takes enough of that from the comedy genre and pulls it over to make it lighthearted. So but it would be classified a dramedy, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So still haven't seen Paddington, Hannah. Okay. Well, I haven't either, but don't anybody put it on the list. I don't want to watch The Bear. I'm good without The Bear, but it's of course not my choice if people pick it. That said, what about you, Mickey? What did you think of Chef?
I mean, I loved it. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's a good movie. I liked it. I would probably watch it again sometime. The father-son thing was what was most important to me, what I enjoyed the most. Especially my son is about the same age as him now. And
interesting.
I remember when the movie was over, I was like, I'm gonna ask him if there's something he wants me to teach him tomorrow, like it was killing me.
Nice.
Is there anything you want me to teach you?
Right? You want to come watch me, do some butchery? See what I do for a living?
Yeah, just a fun movie, a feel-good movie. It went by, it didn't drag on or anything. I loved the music. That was probably like my favorite part of the whole film. And yeah, solid movie.
All right. I'm gonna give this a 9. I bought this movie. I absolutely love this movie. I don't know. Favre made me like Will Ferrell. I think that says something about his talent. It's weird, there's only one miss he's ever had for me, and that was Cowboys versus Aliens. I thought that was okay, but everybody's got to have a miss. You got to have a miss. It just feels like it's a must in your filmography. Other than that, I think he's just always batting 1,000 for the most part. So I give this a solid 9. I don't think kid me would have watched this. It would have felt too
yeah.
No, I wouldn't want to watch it, but. Can't wait to watch Cocaine Bear. All right. Cocaine Bear. I've heard about this. We could probably watch that for this show. We've done weird movies like Rubber was mentioned earlier. We've done some pretty really strange films. And there are strangers still. So we'll get to those.
Yeah.
So yeah, a 9 for me. That said, we're going to move on to Burnt. But before we do, I have a weird piece of trivia for Chef Burnt. So actually, Chef and Burnt were both called Chef originally, and Sony basically did a cease and desist with Weinstein Corporation to stop this film from being called Chef, and Sony lost, and that movie got called Adam Jones for a while, as we know, main character, and then eventually was turned to Burnt in order to rebrand. So obviously Favre won that one. One for Favre, right? 1 year earlier, right?
Yeah.
1 year earlier. But weirdly, Burnt was a script in 2007, and it just kept getting pushed back forever. So
interesting.
The review of Rubber was a hard show. It was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Burnt, starring Bradley Cooper. This one is a 2015 film about a chef who has had a sordid past, was a great chef, but also got hardened to drugs and alcohol and women, and went on benders to the point where he was basically wanted dead by a lot of people. Like, sounds legitimate, at least from what the plot tells you. And he's back in London to claim his 3rd Michelin star. I'll also throw a little bit of this because I did do a little behind the scenes on this one. I've always wondered, Michelin, I never thought about putting the two things together, and they are legitimately the tire company, and Michelin stars are the same thing. And it is a French company.
It's such a weird thing.
It really is. But it was 1900 is when they started. So to me, if you think back to then, it wouldn't have been too weird then. Tires weren't, they were new, I guess, in some ways in 1900. So they do pull from that reality in this movie, and from what I know, they do a pretty good job of it. But anyway, let's get into it. Mickey, what did you think of Burnt?
So again, first time watching this movie was for this show, and this is actually probably my favorite of the 3. At least the one I vibed with the most. I really I don't know what it was that I was really connected with, the whole comeback story from being in a really bad place and getting yourself clean and penance, with the shucking the oysters. That was crazy to me. 1 million oysters shucked.
Yeah.
Then I can go back to what I'm doing. I thought that was really that was a really cool little character detail that they used that really helped me understand this guy. His whole demeanor just reminded me of God, what's his name? The chef, always yelling at people. Why?
Ramsay?
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. I was going to say Ramsay.
Yeah.
It's almost felt like, I think he did work in his kitchens,
He
actually.
did. Actually, it was that specific under one of Ramsay's executive chefs.
So I definitely got that vibe. He learned a lot from him. Every actor, I feel just brought it. Sienna Miller, Daniel Bruhl, the guy that played his rival Reese, I really loved him.
Reese was great.
Yeah.
The passion that these chefs brought and put all the pressure to put on themselves to be perfect is just intense. The whole time I was I kind of feel that too, because I'm kind of the same way. It has to be perfect or it's not going to be right, and I have to get out of that headspace sometimes. So I was totally down with that too.
No, totally.
I really liked the indie feel of the film. I liked all the conflicts, and there's that one twist with his sous chef that was awesome.
Oh man, I know. I was
I did not see that coming.
Oh my!
I was
God,
oh wow, a movie about restaurants with a
whoa.
twist. Holy shit! Okay.
Dang,
I don't know if that's where they got the title from, but I immediately thought oh, he burnt him.
Right. But he also burnt people back in the day. So
That's true.
Yeah.
But it was pepper.
But still,
Burnt pepper.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's that.
And then
element too.
man,
my final favorite thing was this mythical Jean-Luc who we never saw, and we never got any backstory about. He was almost like a god. He was and we never see him, but just his knives, that's all we see of him.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was he was a big deal, I guess. And I really like this film a lot.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Brian, what do you think? Burnt.
Yeah, ditto. What he said.
that would be the shortest show ever. Whatever he said, it's perfect.
Yeah. No, I really this is a first watch for me too. And I probably wouldn't have watched it any other time. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the show.
I think Aina suggested this one, I believe.
Nice. Yeah. It's great.
Question.
Yeah. It was really great. And yeah, I always connect with like addiction and recovery and stories of that. And it's like instantly, because I grew up with addicted parents, and so it always like it instantly hits right away, that. And like the whole like shucking the oyster thing, I have like one little nitpicky thing about that, but like I love that aspect too. Like Mickey mentioned, it's like it's this penance, but also it's a thing to keep him in a routine, because when you're in recovery, like routine is so important, and just like kind of setting this foundation of like doing a thing every day and just focusing on that thing each day, focus on each oyster, staying present. So my nitpicky thing is, if he would have been, because you're watching him shuck these oysters, if he would have done like an actual million, he would be so good at shucking those oysters. He would have shucked them way faster than he was. He was struggling.
He was
with those oysters.
The speed. That's actually one of the behind the scenes things. They talk about how many oysters it would be, and it's like an oyster every 8 seconds. And he was going a lot slower than 8 seconds. So
because the weird thing about me, like I used to. So when I lived in Maryland, I worked for a little small video production company, and my boss was in charge of the National Oyster Festival, was in Southern Maryland, and they had an oyster shucking contest, and these people, like I'd like help out with it every year. These people are insane, like how fast they shuck these oysters. So that's why I was like, no, he'd be shucking those oysters way faster
at a million.
But, and but like the cast, holy hell, the cast is like incredible. I mean, it was just like every time someone would pop up, I was like, oh my god, this person's in this like Uma Thurman's in there.
And again, like the last movie, not for very long, right? Just like a short,
just like killing it. Like, man, like Sienna Miller's amazing in this movie.
Yes,
I absolutely love her in this. Just going toe to toe with. It's funny. I sometimes too had it because, like, Bradley Cooper does Rocket's voice, and so there's a few times when he's like yelling, I'm just like, oh man, there's some Rocket coming through there. So that kind of like took me out of it a little bit, but not in like a bad way. I was just like thinking of Rocket Raccoon in the kitchen,
going for his third star.
Yeah, it's real, it's real. And
that guy's arm.
Yeah, right. But like the food B-roll is like amazing in this too. Also made me hungry. But yeah, just a really great, like, just a great story. And another good story with a good arc. But yeah, man, Bradley Cooper is just like, owns this film so good.
He really does. And I was one of those people that naysayed Bradley Cooper for a long time. I was like, oh, they're trying to make him a thing. What is this? Who is this? And then I watched some of these movies where he's, acting in them instead of just, dialing it in like he does in some of those bigger budgets. And, Rocket obviously does a great job. But yeah, in this, he brings some serious nuance. When he comes in drunk, because he doesn't get his star.
Oh man, yeah. Oh my god.
He feels like a different person. Like he couldn't even almost physically recognize him because he was doing such a good job. It was wild. Going to the oysters, since you both mentioned it, there's a thing about the oysters I wanted to mention, which I thought was interesting. The character obviously thought that by doing that, of course, it helped him with his sobriety. 2 years of doing that instead of drinking is going to help you because it gives you the focus, as you mentioned. But he was under this false impression that by doing that, he paid his penance in general.
Yeah.
And no, you didn't.
I know.
And that's the
12-step.
Right. Or like, doing something where you actually go and talk to the people that you screwed over.
Right.
He was under this false impression because his ego got in his way still, even as he was in recovery. His ego was in his way. I think it's really neat to see a film that's brave enough to show somebody taken down a peg in a good way, in a humbled way. We don't see that most times. The ego, like even Tony Stark's arc doesn't humble him to this level. This guy becomes a human being at the end of this film that you could probably just approach and talk to. Although he seems like that outside the kitchen. But in the kitchen, he becomes that person rather than this aggressive, I guess, traditional chef, because that's common, right? In chef culture, the concept of the screaming and the owning the kitchen is very common. Even they show that a little bit in Chef, and They really show that in the menu.
Yeah, each one of these is like another extreme, right? Like
Yeah.
Chef was pretty like, and then this one is like pretty serious. Yeah, and the menu is just like cult status.
Right,
like,
right.
Man,
These movies go together really, really well.
yeah, surprisingly.
And
it's
they're all about
crazy.
the same thing, but they approach it in very different ways. And I think it's neat to see the same exact culture from 3 completely different angles. Two would be considered nonfiction angles, and then a hybrid, I guess, of the third one. Anyway, so back to this. I like that the movie's basically a third in French because they are so steeped in the French culture from being there and being chefs there. And you do get the impression these people know each other because they're ready to kill each other. You don't usually want to kill people you don't know very well. I guess there are those, but I don't know. Honestly, I watched it twice this week. That's how much I enjoyed the film. So yes, I much enjoyed it. I mean, I watched it and then was like, wife, come watch this. It's better than you think it is. I kept passing up this movie because the cover is so incredibly boring.
Right.
What was the plate budget on this film?
Right. So much broken.
And food just constantly getting dumped in a bucket. Not good.
Oh man.
Not dumped in a bucket.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like,
Jesus.
Back to 1, guys. Sorry. We gotta do it again.
Well, especially when he does the one where he freaks out and stacks all the plates with all the food on them.
Man, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like, dude, that was 3 other tables. I have to wait longer now because of you.
I know.
Like, what are you doing? That's terrible. Chefing.
There was 2 scenes in these movies that reminded me of The Bear, and that was one of them where he's stacking it up and he freaks out. And I don't know if you guys have seen The Bear.
I haven't seen The Bear yet.
No.
Totally, that show totally pulled from Chef in this movie, like where the freak out. And then like there's a scene in Chef where the tickets are just continuously like that happens in the Chef too. That's what causes the freak out. But I definitely when I was watching these films, I was like, man, I've seen all of this in The Bear, but all this came before that. So I guess a lot of inspiration was taken for that show.
I like it.
That's fascinating. Yeah. Damn, there's something I was going to mention. Like Mickey made a good point about like the concept of like perfectionism and when it comes to recovery and addiction, that's like a huge part of it is like this perfectionist ideal, at least for a lot of people. Of course it's always individual, but like I would imagine that being a chef as he is to that level has got to be not good, can't be good for his recovery. Like trying to achieve this, like, I mean, it's perfectionism, like verbatim, like the definition of perfectionism is in what he's trying to do, and like he can't achieve it. And it's, and obviously like he ends up kind of relapsing a little bit, or at least slipping. And that hit home for me too, where it's just like, oh man, this is not going to end well for you because you're just immediately back into like your old habits and your old ways of, man. But
the scene where the first night of his new restaurant opens and they bone it really hard, right? He goes outside to throw up, should show you the level of anxiety he's feeling.
Yeah, man.
But just from opening night, let alone the Michelin star or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's such an admirable place to come from trying what he did, but I almost feel like he would have been better off not rushing it. 2 years isn't that long from recovery to be pushing yourself back into such an incredibly just anxious place.
I mean, imagine there's got to be like just triggers everywhere.
Right.
Well,
you're remembering all the times you screwed people over. You're remembering all the times that you had great moments with Jean-Luc and his daughter and your friends and all the people. And the only person standing next to you is Michelle. And then, of course, that doesn't work out so great. This character is layered, very, very layered. And not a lot of time to lay it out there.
No, totally.
But that's, of course, where Dame Emma Thompson comes in quite well and gives us that. Whoa, she's just, but they're in London. So, that makes sense. Uma Thurman's
It's
British
so
in this movie,
good.
which fine, that works for me.
Right.
You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
bother me at all. And her
You got
face
Lily
tells me
James,
how
Alicia
good. You
Vikander,
know,
like
right,
Yeah.
right. But her face showed me how good he cooks. Uma convinced me. I didn't need any more to know how well he cooked. Oh yeah, and that whole like the way he got Tony to give him his restaurant was so underhanded and so shady. You know, like, oh, I'm going to bring in the best, you know, critic in the world, and you're going to have a terrible time if you don't hire me.
Yeah.
Was
Man, I know.
very underhanded. There are many
Yeah.
layers to this movie. Him and Tony's relationship, the hiding of the love, it's a lot of little things, and because, like Mickey mentioned, everybody brings it, and so you don't need too much screen time to believe what's happening with these characters.
Yeah.
It's Daniel Bruhl is just up there with phenomenal
Always good.
actors. Yeah,
Oh,
always,
yeah.
always. Either you want to hate him as a Nazi or you want to, you
Yeah.
know, love him as a maitre d', you know, because he's great in this. So, yeah, I could literally just keep talking because I love every little moment in this movie. It's wound together very nicely. I could see why it was
Yeah,
a
that-
loved script, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like why it kept getting, you know, like we love this. We want to like keep it going and we want to make it eventually. You
Right.
know, just that's the crazy thing about some of these films. I mean, there's so many that have that story. Like Inception was kind of one of those where Christopher Nolan had like it was like 10 years he wanted to make that movie.
Wow, I did
Yeah.
not know that.
And yeah, from the time he had the idea to like getting through it and like finally getting it made, yeah, it was like a 10-year process.
A small aside, we don't talk about Nolan much on the show because we haven't done a whole lot of
No.
his work.
Yeah.
But are you pro Inception or because there's like two teams with that movie? It seems like either
Oh,
people love it or
I
they
love
hate it.
Inception.
Okay,
Oh my God,
I do
love
too.
that.
I do
I
too.
love
Yeah.
that movie so much. Yeah.
Okay, just making
Like,
sure.
for me too, it's also like one of my most memorable theater going experiences. Just with it was a big crowd, and I mean, like when the totem, you know, like you like start shaking, like, and then it cuts. Everyone in the theater like audibly gasped at the same time. It was insane.
That's awesome.
I was like, whoa, I got like goosebumps and everything. It's like, oh my God, what did we all just had this thing. This experience happened. Like, wow, it was like, yeah.
It is amazing
the
how that
closest spiritual
experience,
yeah.
that closest you've ever gotten to a spiritual
The
experience.
closest spiritual experience in a theater like that I've ever had. Like, yeah,
Okay,
it's
that's
pretty
awesome.
insane. it was great.
But those will influence the way you feel about a movie for the rest of your life. Like it's amazing how that if you're in the wrong mindset for a movie, it can ruin the film. It's really weird how that can happen. But
yeah,
I'm glad you guys are pro Inception. That's important to me. The haters can go.
Tenet,
Okay.
though.
No, you don't like Tenet. Okay, maybe we should
No,
do like a
it
Nolan
was-
night where we just cover all of these.
Yeah, I like really wanted to like it. I think maybe I had like really high expectations for it too.
David Washington didn't do it,
and-
or John David Washington didn't
No,
do
I
it for
love
you?
I love John David Washington, and like everything else was like I don't know. I just feel like it was maybe too complex for me to like really keep up. Where like Inception was no problem. Like I was totally fine with Inception as
It's
far
just
as like the
layers.
concept.
Just layers.
Yeah, but it's like this one was like with time
Well, it's
and like
two directions with two
going at the same time, like-
points of thought even, and the origin of it is very Terminator-esque.
right.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you.
So-
It's a tricky
but-
one.
yeah, it is. But
Okay, since we're on this, I do not mean to aside. This movie deserves our attention. But I got to know about Interstellar. What do you think about
That's
Interstellar?
my favorite Nolan
Oh, I
movie
love
right there.
Interstellar.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Me too. And I love that he goes
I love-
practical effects on so many
Yeah.
things.
Anything space related, I'm gonna probably be more interested than normal.
Interesting. What's going on, Sonic Doom? So okay, Mickey and I have more to talk about because if there's stars in the movie, I'm gonna be like, what's this movie? And, is there a spaceship? I'm interested.
Yeah.
Or even like Top Gun Maverick, which I got to see, by the way, which is phenomenal. Very good movie. But you get a little peek at space in that movie, even, and
Yeah.
got me excited. I was like, oh, he's almost in space,
Funny.
So I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you on that. Anyway,
Mhm.
what did you think of the fact that if you could tell Sienna Miller and him were going to fall in love, it was almost obvious from the moment she shows up, maybe not the first scene, but the next scene.
Right.
he manipulated all of these people other than maybe David. He kind of let that kid just into his kitchen. But did you see the love story angle happening, or did you feel like it was forced at all? Because I feel like it was natural enough, but they didn't have enough time to truly build up to, I believe they were going to be truly in love at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, felt natural enough, you know. Yeah, but you kind of like saw like, oh yeah, this is probably where they're gonna go with this.
I was a little worried about it for a second there when he was like
when he manhandled her.
You can't do that. I was like, that's,
oh
that's
man, I know.
no.
Yeah, like, whoa.
that you know, but I mean, I guess that's to the filmmaker's credit to kind of make me doubt it for a second. Like, oh well, this ain't gonna happen. But you know, it did come around eventually. Which I mean, again, I still kind of felt like it's still gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right.
That twist though too, like I was really surprised by that. I was just like, when that sous chef
never saw that coming.
Whoa, he like was committed.
That was a good long con, man. Long con.
That's exactly the way I put it. I was like, he was in it for the long game. Like he did not.
That tells you. That really tells you about how bad things probably were.
Yeah.
Like whatever he did to him was really bad. So
it feels like more than the rats in the kitchen. Because if you could
totally
say it out loud, you know, I don't know.
I'm gonna get this guy at the worst possible time, and I'm gonna wait. So much patience.
Yeah. Well, and he even had a bunch in his hand, like to like show him. He was like, "Yep, look at how much I screwed you over."
Damn. And the thing too, like from a like the story perspective, that was a great like kind of like it was like a double twist in a way, because it's like we think, oh my god, like this is it, like it's over for him. But then it turns out, oh my god, they were not Michelin critics at all. Even it's like, oh my god, you're like, oh jeez,
relief.
But man, they like let you hang on to that feeling for a little bit. You're like, what is gonna happen now?
Which adds to the layers of this film, because even in the back of my head, I kind of didn't want him to get it. Like I didn't think he deserved it in a you know, in a way. So I was like, I was mad that it happened to him, but I was like, maybe he kind of deserves that. Like, do I really want him to get this star? Like, does he deserve this star?
Yeah.
But that really, like, I guess that was his like big turning point, like to do better.
Yeah.
Well, it was them working together that got him the star.
Yeah.
He even said that himself. The scene where he goes to confront, what was his name again? Reese. And he's drunk and he's laughing at all the equipment, which I was too. I was like, what is all that crap? I don't know what that crap is either.
There's nothing in that kitchen but tables and that like was sous vide or whatever.
The sous vide and then the weird thing.
No stoves, no ovens. I was like,
I think that's just their prep kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would assume the prep kitchen.
That can't be it. Like there's nothing back there.
Right. You'd expect more. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
That was a real scene from Cooper, though, where he really showed himself, as I already mentioned about him showing up drunk and the way he looked, but just the way that him and Reese interact and how Reese sees himself. Like, literally, he's like, if I hadn't gotten my star, I bet you I'd be right here doing the same thing. Obviously, they're old friends, but it's weird to watch enemies comfort each other, but I do like that trope. I think it's a pretty great trope.
I love that.
So, anyway,
especially the whole like, you know, Reese saying, I'm just chasing you, man. Like,
right.
Yeah.
We all of us are chasing you. Like it's important. It's important that you do well because we need something to chase. I thought that was awesome.
It lets us know where we're at, you know, and like, where we need to be. Like,
Well,
I wouldn't have ever thought about that and with that perspective, you know, until they mentioned it. I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
They need a rival. They have to have a rival or else.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that says about you should just want to do it for the love of the food, right? But
I
don't know.
Like,
but it's the creativity that he's talking about, not the food itself, but the ability to try new ingredients together and be daring.
That's right. You push us to do more.
To try something nobody else would try. Like the whole drink that they sent back for Spicy was something he'd been working on with the tarragon. The whole movie he'd been working on that. Yeah. And so that was stuff he was trying that nobody else was. And he was even working with I always mess up her name, Helena. So Helena and him are working on this, you know, I took your sauce and mixed it with, you know, what I was trying over here. And holy shit. I did like when Reese destroyed his restaurant because Jones came back, you know, and was doing well. and I keep feeling for these restaurant owners because the owners aren't chefs. Like they just build these places and do whatever the chefs really want in so many cases. Especially if you have 1, 2, or 3 of those stars, they're gonna bend over backwards for you. But I feel bad for them. Like, do these chefs really? Is this authentic? Ramsey, can you tell us?
Those chefs are really like rock stars. They just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do whatever, and you're gonna deal with it because I'm the reason people come here to eat my food. So, and they're really temperamental, I guess, and just when they flip out, you be like, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have chef's insurance? Do you think maybe?
I would hope so.
Right.
Can we put a little, addendum on my insurance in case my chef
cover-
destroys my restaurant?
Yeah, like cover like 6 meltdowns a year.
Oh man.
Something like that.
The 7th meltdown, it takes a
Yeah,
$20,000 deductible.
Yeah, we're not covering that.
Sorry. But yeah, I would. That would be hard to be a restaurant owner and watch these chefs pull that crap. Sure, you're talented, but
Man,
holy
yeah.
crap, can you stop acting like a child?
Yeah.
So, but even watching any amount of cooking shows, you get the idea that this is kind of how it really is, and they tone it down for the TV because they have to make it palatable for us. Because too much well, they didn't with Ramsey's show, I guess. They just were like, just put a beeper on the guy and just let him go. But you weren't wrong, Mickey. This character, Adam Jones, was a mix of like 4 different chefs, and Ramsey was one of them that they specifically modeled this character after. And so he definitely brought that element because he does feel, cocky like Ramsey does. Because Ramsey is the cockiest chef. I don't think anybody will argue with that. He wanted the award. He got it. He'll forever have it.
Wasn't correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Mario Batali like a consultant on the film too?
That I did not look up.
I thought I saw his name in the credits in the beginning, but I could be wrong.
I was reading through most of the trivia. I did not see that, but I didn't read through all of it, so it's very possible.
Yeah.
But I did verify the London.
Oh, Gordon Ramsay was actually executive producer on it.
Okay.
I thought he was. I thought he was.
Okay,
I heard that.
then that might be an element of there's some truth to just the culture in general, and we all kind of knew that, but they're never going to tell us for sure because it's very private. The idea of those kitchens, they don't want you back there. They don't want you questioning their techniques or their food or, that's an insult as we again see in the next movie. So that said, we do have enough time to rate this and go to the pre-review that BlindBiggie always puts together for us, which is awesome. And then we'll get on to the menu, which I finished like 2 hours before this show, so it's fresh in the mind. That said, why don't we start with Mickey? What did you think of Burnt?
I give this one a 9 out of 10. I was very into it. I was very immersed. I loved almost every second of it. Great characters, great writing. I felt like I was in the kitchen with them the whole time, and I totally got the whole vibe and how important all of this stuff was, and I related to a lot of the issues that some of these guys were having, and I could,
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome. So a 9 out of 10. What about you, Brian?
I'm gonna give this one an 8 as well. Yeah. Definitely really enjoyed this one in a different way, of course, than Chef. Chef was just like feels really good, and this one's just like, man, this is like a little heavier, pretty dark. I mean, you don't really see Favreau go to that level except for going off on the critic, and then but Bradley Cooper's character in this is just like he is at a 10 the whole time he's in that kitchen, and it's just like, man, this is insane. But yeah, it was just a man, everyone was giving it. Yeah, he's got layers. The whole film has just really great layers to it. Yeah, glad I got to finally see it.
Agreed. I do like that I finally got to watch this as well, because I might not have had it not been suggested.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it is a solid flick. If you want to step into the shoes of a chef that is going for his 3rd star, you definitely feel like you're right along for the ride with him. I think they do a great job of that. And because I didn't show him earlier, these screenshots kind of, or the stills, I guess, from the film are a really good example of just how beautiful that food cinematography was, or Be Real. And there's this one as well. I liked how they cut that open, and the it's almost, I think it was an egg, but it had a red center, so I'm not quite sure what that was. But anyway. That said, we're going to move on to the pre-review with BlindBiggie. We'll be right back.
The pre-review with BlindBiggie. The pre-review with BlindBiggie.
Welcome to the pre-review. I'm your host, BlindBiggie. The pre-review is where I tell you about upcoming movies coming to movie theaters and beyond. This is for the week January 23rd through 29th. The first movie on my list is Teen Wolf, the movie. Now, this is based on the Teen Wolf series. In this action drama fantasy, a terrifying evil has emerged, and the wolves howl once again. Only a werewolf like Scott McCall can gather both new allies and reunite trusted friends to fight back against what could be the most powerful and deadliest enemy. Now, this movie is directed by Russell Mulcahy, who most people know from the movie Highlander. And this stars Tyler Posey, Kristen Reed, and Tyler Hoechlin. I know a lot of people have been waiting for Teen Wolf the movie. It looks great, and I can't wait to see it. Teen Wolf the movie premieres on Paramount Plus January 26th. Next on my list is the French-Dutch drama Close. The intense friendship between two 13-year-old boys, Leo and Remy, suddenly gets disrupted. Struggling to understand what has happened, Leo approaches Sophie, Remy's mother. Close is a film about friendship and responsibility. I gotta tell you, this looks very dramatic. I bet it's gonna be really good. Close premieres in movie theaters on January 27th. Next on my list is the horror movie Fear. In this movie, a much-needed getaway and a celebration weekend turns into a nightmare due to a contagious airborne threat. This movie stars Joseph Sikora, who I remember from the first season of True Detective, and also Ruby Modine, who some people may recognize from Happy Death Day. This movie looks like it's going to be a thrilling ride. Fear premieres in movie theaters on January 27th. Next is Life Upside Down. In this comedy, three couples who know one another are stuck at home during the beginning of the lockdown. Jonathan, Clarissa, and Paul will see their lives turned upside down, forced to look at each other and ultimately themselves. This movie stars Rhoda Mitchell, Danny Houston, and Bob Odenkirk, so you know we're going to get a great comedic performance. The movie Life Upside Down premieres in theaters and video on demand January 27th. Next, I have the comedy Maybe I Do. With their relationship at a crossroads, Michelle and Alan invite their parents to finally meet. As it turns out, their parents already know each other. Maybe a little too well. This movie stars Emma Roberts, William H. Macy, Susan Sarandon, Richard Gere, and Diane Keaton, amongst others. Maybe I Do premieres in theaters and video on demand January 27th. Anybody ready for some J-Lo? The next movie on my list is Shotgun Wedding. In this action comedy romance, a couple's extravagant destination wedding is hijacked by criminals. In the process of saving their families, they rediscover why they fell in love in the first place. This movie stars Josh Duhamel, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Coolidge, Lenny Kravitz, Cheech Marin, and Darcy Carden, amongst others. Shotgun Wedding premieres on Amazon Prime Video January 27th. And last on my list this weekend is You People. This romantic comedy follows a new couple and their families who find themselves examining modern love and family dynamics amidst clashing cultures, societal expectations, and general differences. This movie stars Jonah Hill, Lauren Landon, Eddie Murphy, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Sam Jay, Nia Long, David Duchovny, Dion Cole, amongst others. The romantic comedy You People premieres on Netflix January 27th. Well, it looks like that's all for this week. Hope to see you out there.
All right. Thank you, Biggie, for your awesome pre-review. And some of those movies looked interesting, no doubt. Lots of stars popping up. Richard Gere all of a sudden reappearing, reemerging. So we're going to move on. Last film of the evening, which is the well-received The Menu 2022. This only came out late last year and has just made it to streaming services. And we are going to talk about it. This one stars Rafe Fiennes, if you will. I've always struggled with that because it looks like Ralph, but hey, I've heard it's Rafe.
He actually did an interview recently about that, why it came to be that way, and it all has to do with like his grandfather, I believe.
So it's like Willem in that way.
Yeah, so it's always been Rafe, even though it looks like Ralph. It was like this pronunciation thing of how they used to say it that way, but and it just stuck. Like it was like supposed to be Ralph, but it just ended up being Rafe, and he just stuck with it for,
Rafe fits him better, weirdly enough. Yeah.
And then it just rolls into his last name, Rafe Fiennes. So.
Right. No, it's got a very like Eminem style rapping where you're gonna like throw this, the syllable of the next word.
Right.
Yeah, brilliant. Anna Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult. You've got, let's see, other actors I probably would recognize if I, but I don't know their name, like Janet McTeer, Paul Edelstein. Then of course Judith Light as well.
Hong Chow. Hong Chow also is freaking.
Oh yeah, that's so good. Yeah,
yeah.
And then John Leguizamo pops up as a movie star,
back,
which is great. This time he's a movie star. He's a lot more cocky.
Character. No, I'm just
kidding. Very. And that's the thing. Like these are two wildly different characters,
totally,
which is great. And I would rather hear what his character from Chef thought about this food rather than this character and what he thought, because he didn't really seem to be engaged with it. Anyway. So this is a movie about high class dining to the highest degree, and a select group of people are invited to this island to experience Chef Slowick's menu, the menu. And it's funny because even the Searchlight Pictures, I think, is like invites you to very much in the same fashion in the credits to enjoy the movie like you would high cuisine, if you will. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go first this time, since there's three of us. It's perfect. 3 films. I did not know what to expect with this movie. All I know is that everybody wouldn't shut up about this movie, and not in a bad way. But it was definitely talked about for the last 3 months tremendously. Everybody's gone, oh, have you seen The Menu? Oh, The Menu. And people haven't spoiled it, which is great, but they've definitely talked about how weird it is. So I kept thinking, what is this, a horror film? What is this film, about food? And going in, I was intrigued, especially weirdly by the Tyler character. I was like, why is this guy so obsessed with all of this? Why is he into this? This seems extreme. The other people here just seem rich. He just seems like a super foodie, if you will. Spoiler, he is a super foodie. And so I wasn't sure how I'd feel. I definitely enjoy elements of the film, but as a whole, I think the hype hurt this film for me. I think it wasn't as good as maybe I was expecting it to be based upon how much people talked about it. That's my initial view, and there's plenty to talk about with lots of things to unravel. Why don't we go with Brian?
Man, I love this movie. This is like one of my favorite movies of 2022. Like, I was along every step of the way, everything. Like, I was just loving it. Yeah, like I didn't think it was like weird necessarily. But I just loved that it was just like out there, and that this chef was like he had talk about the long game. Like he had a goal. He wanted to say something, and man, did he. Like, it's so good. And then how integral is Anya Taylor-Joy's character, to like throw him off balance. You know what I mean? Like, man, no, this dude, I love this movie. It's so damn good. Just like I literally left the theater. I've said this multiple times. I literally left the theater and went and got like a big juicy like bacon cheeseburger.
Oh yeah,
man! I was like, I never wanted a burger so much in my life until after that movie. Like it was so crazy. Like, yeah, another movie that made me want to eat. But yeah, just the cast is incredible. Yeah, Hong Chao, like, man, also in The Whale too, like she has a lot of weight in that film as well, just like she does in this one. She's like, man, it feels like she's just come out of nowhere too, but
Yeah.
it's one of those like probably 10-year overnight stories, you know what I mean? But
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta keep an eye on her. She's gonna be doing more for sure. Yep, loved it.
Okay. How about you, Mickey?
Great movie. First time seeing it. Again, probably maybe the same way you feel, where like the hype may have hurt it a little bit, but I still thought it was really good. Nicholas Hoult was all he was a terrible person, but like he did such a good job in this film.
Peeking in the windows. Like,
yeah, its whole like commentary on society was really cool. And the way they kept the tension from like as soon as they got on the boat till the end of the movie was great. Like I feel like this movie did a really good job of building tension with just small little tricks like the egg timer and things like that.
The clap.
clap.
Every time we do a clap.
So good, so good.
And yeah.
Ray Fiennes, like, man.
Yeah.
He was so good, so like unsettling. But like when he would get real with Margot, like in his office, you know, very relatable guy. Like when he's in there in private with her, the whole concept is a little weird. Like all of these, I guess, service industry, restaurant workers, chefs, whatever we want to call them. Like, man, I was like, I don't know how they got all these people to, you know, to agree to do that. But, you know, I'm sure it could happen.
Well, I think that alone is making a statement about that culture of like, these people worship this chef, you know, do anything because he's who he is, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
And it does take it to it is an extreme level, of course, but yeah, I mean, there's that one scene where it's like all the women while the men are like running away, being hunted, and all the women are there, and they're trying to get that one, you know, cook or whatever to like go
trying to sweet talk her.
Yeah, she's like, no, I'm the one that
this was my idea
for you all to die. Like, yeah, I'm like, damn, like,
yeah. Like, I thought all that stuff was awesome. Yeah, just the whole like, and each guest kind of representing, you know, like a bad part of the system, and just how, I mean, this is definitely represents like the worst part of like fine dining to me, where it's like it is so pretentious and so like, yeah, people like what they like, but I'm just like, it's dumb. Like you're just gonna eat the little flowers and seaweed off of a rock and one scallop. I'm out, man.
Right.
But it's how ridiculous it is, but
yeah,
you know, it's real.
This is a commentary on Burnt in a lot of ways. Like,
exactly.
And then in some ways, even the things we were saying about Burnt, they joke about in this movie, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So like,
and the funny thing is too is like, again, being in Portland, there are a lot of like, there's a lot of that here. And if you watch the movie Pig, it's set in Portland. It was shot here in Portland, and it's set, and it makes very similar commentaries too. Where, I mean, there's literally like a fight club.
Yeah.
Among like, you know, people in that industry, like in this, oh my God, like that part was insane.
Which totally makes sense for that workforce to just get out frustration that way. Like, I mean, I might would do it too. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, but it's making a very similar commentary to like, come on, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I totally agree. But
I do like I think my favorite commentary of all of them, some of them were fairly obvious, you know, the cheating husband, the rich, well-to-do actor that kind of, you know, makes shit up and is not living to their best potential as before, or even the Wall Street guys who are just basically scum.
Oh man.
But the one that I thought was interesting, like I said before, was Tyler, and the idea that they were commenting on how even foodies, people who like armchair chefs, if you will, watch enough cooking shows, they're like, I'm an expert. And it's like, you learned about something, but you didn't learn it. You didn't go implement it.
Like,
you now know it exists. Great. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Go practice with that for 10 years and then we'll start talking.
Yeah. Well, it's about like, he's not creating anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that's kind of like part of it. And then on top of it, what he did to Anya Taylor's character, like, I wasn't expecting that. I was like, damn.
Another twist, if you will.
That's cold, man. Yeah. Like, wow. Yeah. But like,
it was
that was the one element though too that was like why she's so integral is like she wasn't supposed to be there. That whole, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and her living or dying is not consequential to the menu. Like,
yeah,
everybody's gonna die anyway. Just let her go. What does it matter if you actually let her go?
Yeah.
Because when I first thought of it, I was like, no, you're not gonna let her go. Why would you do that? And then I was like, well, wait a minute. If this is the whole restaurant, then you're a client. You're a cult, as you mentioned. You know, it felt like a cult, cult of restaurant, if you will.
Cult of personality.
It wasn't cod, you donkey. It was halibut.
Which was a kind of a big twist for me because, you know, I guess going into this movie, I expected, you know, obviously something bad to happen to the diners, but I wasn't expecting like the first person to die was one of the chefs, like the guy that
oh man,
I was like, whoa, what's going on here, man? That was not when they laid out the tarp. I was like, oh man, somebody's about to get it,
right?
I thought it would be a diner, not someone actually cooking. So that,
and then my brain went to maybe they'll eat the diner or something really weird.
You know,
it didn't.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
the movie kind of made me feel like there was going to be some cannibalism involved, but
it was hinting at it. It kept like thinking, making you think maybe. Really? Yeah.
I never got a cannibalism. Yeah.
When I saw the trailer originally, I was like, oh man, they're gonna eat those people. they're gonna at least cook one of them and feed them to everybody else.
Yeah, that never happened. It was all real food. I kept wondering who's getting poisoned, who's getting. And for a moment, there was an Inception-y type moment at the very end when she takes that bite of hamburger and she gets a look on her face. I swear to God, I thought she was going to fall over dead. I thought he poisoned her at the last minute for no reason. But no, but it's still because they cut. It's still technically ambiguous.
Absolutely love like each course. Like we were introduced to a title card with oh my God, like
Tyler's was the best, right? The lamb and shallots and leeks.
Oh my God, yeah. It's so good. I mean, I don't know. I guess I didn't like I got into it right away. Like there was no hype around it because I watched it.
You watched the opening weekend, right? Right when it came out.
Yeah.
Right.
So and pretty blind too, just saw the one trailer and I didn't watch anything else, or any reviews or anything. So it's probably more, I mean, with most movies, maybe like it's better enjoyed just going in completely with none of that influencing you.
Well, some movies it's that way. It feels like if you just hurry up and watch it. Some of them like this, it's important to just see it as quickly as possible. Don't hear anybody else talk about it. Just watch it. Some movies, it doesn't matter how they hype it. It's either good or it's not. Real quick, Ray asked a question.
Like Black Panther. Sorry, not Black Panther. Black Adam. Sorry.
There's a good one. Yes.
Yeah.
Ray actually asked, "Is this movie gory?" I wouldn't call it gory. There's some blood in the film. It's definitely. If there's still like makes you uneasy, would be what I would say.
Yeah, I think the worst is when that one cook like offs himself.
The suicide. That's
worst.
the most.
Yeah.
But
it
you
really
can't
wasn't
handle
that
that
gratuitous either. It was
right. Yeah.
Blood really.
It's just shocking. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which movie it was.
And cut off or anything.
Right. No, you can definitely. I think you could handle it, Ray. For the most part, it's more suspense. It's definitely about these characters and what they've done. It's not like watching Midsummer or something. Like you're good. It's not that level by any means. You only watched half of Law Abiding Citizen?
Oh.
Maybe not.
Damn, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Right?
Maybe not.
Yeah, because I don't remember Law Abiding Citizens having too much.
It had some explosions, a couple of gunshots. I thought it was more PG-13 action than anything. I haven't watched that in forever, though.
Maybe not then, Ray. Maybe
so
sit this one out.
I've watched a lot of food TikTok like a lot of food TikTok.
Shout out to Keith Lee. Whoop, whoop.
and I there are so many of them that I love, and then there are some that it doesn't matter how good their preparation, their recipes, anything they're doing. It's the way they approach the food when they show it to me that is so important. And one of these movies, and now I think I'm forgetting which one, but they show the characters eating. I think it's Burnt, actually. And they show them eating, but when they do, they show them like cutting the food on the plate. They show them lifting the food to their mouth. Then they cut, and then they're chewing the food. They do not show it enter the mouth at all in any of these movies. And I think it's important because it makes it less gross, especially to like me. I don't...
Right.
Not a fan of watching people put food in their mouth. And so TikToks are the same way. When I watch somebody go, and then they go a close up of them eating the food, I'm like, I'm scroll immediately. And so I got to give credit to the cinematographers for knowing what makes food look more appetizing. They did a really good job, not only on the plates, but also with watching the patrons eat.
Yeah.
Which it's just a little thing, but for me, it's a big thing. So
yeah,
odd, but
and that's probably in the edit. Like they probably shot the whole thing all the way through, and then they cut those spots. But yeah, I'm actually on the side of TikTok where it's all specifically just mouth shots and stuff.
The ASMR food mouth noise. So it's just the all mouth noise.
Mouth sounds.
And they're like, "Oh, the mouth feel is so good," and they won't shut up about it.
Don't say mouth feel. Yeah, don't say mouth feel.
I thought that was great.
Mouth feel.
Yeah,
it's right there with moist.
Yeah,
moist.
People don't like moist. They don't.
I know.
Mouthfeel is a weird thing, but it's not untrue. That's the thing. Like, do you like cottage cheese? You know, some people don't because it's got the curds. And
although I would say texture, not mouthfeel.
Yeah, texture. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, but that's again the foodies. You know, got in there and please.
I think to add, you know, kind of adjacent to that, the sommelier or the wine guy. Like there's one when he's explaining one of those wines, man. It made me laugh. I forget which one it was, but he kind of like I forgot what he said.
The whole was it the one done on one row or something like that?
Oh yeah, but he like this. He describes like what it tastes like, and then like a warm, starry night. I don't know what he said exactly, but it was something along those lines. And I almost laughed out loud at that point.
Well, that's also like in contrast to what's happening. Too, this guy's just like, I'm just doing my job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Yeah,
he's probably the most friendly guy there, really, but he's there to do the same thing as everyone else.
Yeah,
he is the opposite of Elsa in that way. Like,
yes,
you know, Elsa's there to police the place and keep you on track.
She's so good though.
That's a tortilla, sir. That's a tortilla. She kept saying. I was like,
tortillas, and she even like does the pronunciation.
Tortillas. That's right. She does.
Yeah.
When I was suspect of the whole thing the moment they were like, we all sleep in this one barracks. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like when they introduce it.
I was like you what?
Yeah.
On this whole island, you couldn't have built a couple other buildings. Like, this was purposeful. You guys are weird. This movie had several twists, though. It was like almost. I don't know.
That Coast Guard dude.
The Coast Guard guy, exactly. You want his autograph? Like, that was cold-hearted, dude. Like, literally knowing he's one of my chefs. You know, he's the saucier or something, but he looks like a Coast Guard guy. You know, they had to get the outfit, they had to put the ham radio. Like, they set that up for the long, long con. Michelle was put to shame with how long these people put this on. Wow. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I think the shots in this film, I did bring one screenshot from this film where it's the scissors in the chicken thigh or the chicken breast. No, it's the chicken thigh. And you know, his whole story about that was another moment where I'm like, you guys are still here? Why are you still here?
And doesn't the woman chef stab him in the thigh with the same kind of scissors?
Yes, she does.
Is also what he did to his dad when he was describing that scene.
Right. So that was his penance. He was paying his penance for what he did to her when he shunned her for not sleeping with him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right.
That was really cool, like connection to all three of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. There was another part. So I mentioned Midsommar weirdly, but the end of this movie has a Midsommar type feel where the characters are this is bad. They know this is bad, but they're almost willing. They realize how terrible they are.
They were into it then.
And at that point, they're like, "Yes, chef." I was like,
yeah.
Chocolate melting in your eyes, you know.
That was very uncomfortable, like awkward feeling scene there when you could see it in their faces. They were like, "We deserve this," and I was like, "Man, this is."
He spent the 4 hours convincing them they deserve to die, essentially, and they agreed with him. But that's why she didn't belong, because she didn't deserve to die. She was set up, you know, that whole thing. I guess I didn't need the element of she also, you know, did things with the old man. I felt a little forced.
Yeah. That seemed
an extra element for no reason. Like, he could have been a cheater and they could have proved it without it being her, and she still could have been a call girl, and that wouldn't have mattered, you know? I mean, but I guess you could take it both ways and it wouldn't matter. Yeah. So did Tyler kill himself or did they kill him?
I assume he killed himself.
That's what I assumed too.
Because he was taking off his tie to go hang himself.
Yeah.
Like he was so dedicated to, and I think that went a lot to, like, you know, idolizing the idolatry of the chef. Like all he had, I don't know what he whispered in his ear, but it was enough to make him just go, all right.
Maybe he said, "Take off your jacket and go kill yourself."
I'm sure it was something along those lines.
Like, I mean,
like, I'm sure he probably is like, "You're the worst chef I've ever seen."
Right?
I'm sure.
Right,
I'm sure. I'm sure he.
God, that whole scene was like hard to watch too. Just like him trying to cook. Oh my God! And that was the whole that was his whole point of being there too. Because like again, he's never created anything. Right. You know what I mean, it's like, okay, now's your chance, man. Like,
that lamb. I could tell that lamb was undercooked. Why did you serve that? Lamb takes forever to cook. Why don't you just ask for some eggs and some salt, man, and be like, scrambled my shit, you know? Go with something your mom taught you. Like, everybody had their mom, well, for the most part, teach them something. You know, not everybody's mom.
Grilled cheese sandwich.
As a there you go. Exactly. I do love the way she talks about and describes asking for the hamburger, for the cheeseburger. And I did like the way they came up with that, where she saw his past and used it to her advantage. And he was smiling when he grilled that hamburger. He was very happy. That's probably why he let her go. He's like, dude, she made me happy.
Yeah.
And he couldn't call it off at that point because they were already going to go to the cops.
Oh man. Yeah. They're
So he was committed. Or he would have been committed.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. The more I talk, this is one of those movies, the more I talk about it, the more I'm enjoying it, because the conversation about it is actually part of the intrigue, because there's some fun elements. And yeah, Rafe does, that dude doesn't not bring it. Like, he's just one of those classic actors where he's always, you know, expelliarmus, you know, sorry.
I want to talk about the shot of the s'mores at the end from above. Was really cool, where they had basically plated the dining area. I thought that was beautiful, like really cool. Although I don't like my man dissing s'mores like that, because s'mores are delicious.
But no, if you listen carefully though, he said in their raw form they're shit, but as soon as you melt them together they combine and they become he even kind of mentions that. So it won't be good until you're all melted, basically. So there was an element where he agrees s'mores are good, but they're made from just shit you find on the shelf at a poor person's home. You know? But you know, that's how you elevate food. You combine some shit and heat it up, see what happens.
This is how he described the cheeseburger too. He was like, it's gonna be, what did he say? It's gonna be like the cheeseburger your poor parents made. Like,
yeah, like
kind of knocking the cheeseburger, but like even he knows it's still going to be good as hell there.
And it was a smash burger, which is very popular right now. So they were definitely right in that vein. The critic. So we haven't talked about the critic and her lackey. Who basically just sucked her butt the entire film.
Gosh.
That guy made me mad right away. I was like, oh, it's that fucking guy. It's weird because critics are a huge part of all three of these films. Obviously, food critics are a huge part of the food industry. But her, if you could tell, it felt like she was intentionally knocking his shit just to do it. It didn't feel like she genuinely was putting any thought into this. She had a thesaurus that morning. She was flipping through it, using big words and just trying to feel like this popular critic rather than just being herself, the person that discovered him in the first place.
Yeah.
Ratatouille kept coming to mind when I watched these movies. I've seen the movie a lot of times because my daughters love it, and I love it myself. And especially with Chef, because they literally talk about the same setup, French style setup. But the critic humbled in that one, paired with this one, was interesting to me. I'm like, and I kept getting this weird, like, Anton Ego, if he never gave it up kind of vibes. Like he would have been turned into a s'more, you know?
That room.
Right.
Yeah. If he didn't change his ways, I guess, Anton Ego would be in this room.
And there were rats in a kitchen in Burnt. I don't know. I don't know. It kept making me think of Ratatouille. Because that's the Chef movie that I've been watching longer than any of these.
True.
Yeah.
And it's good and authentic in a lot of ways. I don't know. Maybe we should have thrown that in as like a side reading, you know, kind of thing. For a bonus, watch Ratatouille. Anything else about the Chef you guys want to, or the menu, the menu you want to bring up?
The Chef menu. No, man, I want a burger again, though. I know that. Just talking about this.
These movies do make you hungry.
Yeah. I do like the connection to connect two films again. The cheeseburger in this film with like the Burger King and
yeah.
Like, I mean, this guy's eating Burger King. He's like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, I think he called it peasant food.
Yeah, peasant's food, and how it's elevated.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So it can still be something in the hands of a great chef.
Well, there's okay, to get back to TikTok, have you guys ever watched the TikToks of the chef who elevates shit food? His son will bring him, I'm not sure what his name is.
That guy was on Iron Chef, I think.
Was he really?
I know who you're talking about.
But his son will bring him some McDonald's or frozen dinner and be like, can you make this better? And he takes it and he mixes other ingredients in, of course. He doesn't just be like, let me recook it. He'll reincorporate it into something else, much like they did on like Chopped, where you got to just take old ingredients that are like, oh shit, this is a bag of popcorn. It's already like covered in caramel. What am I going to do with this? You know, he does a great job. And that's what I love, I think, about movies about food, is that they definitely make you want to explore food, whether it just be eating it or cooking it or giving more respect to the people who have turned this into a ridiculous art form. Because whether or not I would ever eat at a 3-star Michelin restaurant, which I probably never will in my life.
No.
Would I eat it? Sure. I would definitely check it out. Somebody wanted to plate food and it's like this big. I would eat it if somebody paid for it, but I will never pay for that experience myself.
Yeah. I actually recently had that experience. I was on a work trip and this is in San Jose. And we went to one of our clients, we, sometimes we'll take them out, and I didn't have to pay for it, at least, thank goodness, because it was pretty spendy, but it was very much one of those, like, I'm still hungry, and we just had like a full, like, multiple course thing happen, and I'm like not full whatsoever. It was just like,
you want a cheeseburger?
Yeah, something that's actually substantial. Like, it was just all very pretty.
Did you just eat it? Is that what happened? You just ate it?
Yeah, I just ate it. And it was like barely anything. Like,
you didn't taste or savor it or regret it. I love how he put that in the beginning.
No, it all tasted great for like the little bit. Like, I'm like terrible though. I'm a fast eater. Like, I blame that on boot camp. But
oh yeah.
We got 10 minutes. Let's go. Yeah.
There were plenty of times we never got to finish eating or showering or shitting or anything. They're just like, nope, move along. Well, I'm wiping. It doesn't matter. Pull your pants up. Let's go.
I have tried to do like more mindful eating since then, but still, it's like, man, it was like, I would never, like you said, I would never pay for it.
I mean, there's good, like, don't get me wrong, but I would rather head up a food truck or hit up a place that wants to cook because they want to share their cuisine, not because they're going for stars from a tire company. Now it makes me want to look up the Michelin Man, because they're called Michelin Men, and so like, why is he fluffy? And what is the correlation between them and him?
The whole fork thing too is interesting.
Yeah,
put a fork on the floor.
Well, it's not what they did.
Sorry, is that to give them a chance? Like,
that's what they said.
See if they notice.
Yeah.
they notice this.
Yeah, I
If they
think it's like
do,
attention to detail thing.
Those
like,
details are given to everybody, it sounds like,
Yeah.
and you know the basic parameters of, so you can
Mhm.
keep an eye so that everybody has a fair shot. But like we saw, anybody can accidentally follow that pattern.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's true. I mean, people do eat a la carte. People do eat, the menu
Yeah.
versus sitting at the bar, etc. I've sat at the bar waiting for people. It's
Yeah.
not uncommon. So it's interesting that they have like this sort of code. And why 3 stars and not 5? That's just me.
I know, like, or 4 or something. Yeah.
Something 3 is weird. It's like you're really great, you're sort of great, and you're great.
Yeah.
Or something like.
Yeah.
Because you're great if you get 1. Like nobody's gonna be like, oh, you're Michelin star 1 star. We're not hiring your ass. Like they're pretty sure they'll still hire a 1-star Michelin chef.
oh yeah,
You're just not gonna get 3-star prices.
Oh yeah. No, for sure.
But they'll still fight over you. Those stars aren't given to everybody. So I don't know. It's weird. And can't imagine it's so good. Like you had it, so you said it's good, but is it life altering the way that
You
Slowick
make
or
that face.
Jones or even Casper talk about?
No. Nope.
Hmm.
Like, but I'm not like. But again, I think it has to. You have to be like Nicholas Holt. To, like,
That's fair.
get to
Or
that
another
level,
chef,
like,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Or another chef. It's like, that's why I like, another reason I appreciated like, John Favreau's character and chef, because he wanted to like, he wanted to make like actual like food and feed people,
Yeah,
and like still put some heart into what he's doing.
Yeah, like wipe the grease off your face and be like, dude, let me have some more, like just real raw food, not raw food.
Yeah, because there's a lot of places. Yeah, because there's a lot of places here that are exactly like that. It's just like really great, well-made food that's gonna sustain you. It's just like tastes amazing, and it's just, I mean, yeah. And there's so many places like that. I can't do the whole like.
By the way, since you're not that far away, there is a breakfast joint in Albany. Oh crap, I can't remember the name of it, but I swear to God, they put breakfast gravy on everything in a good way.
Oh man!
But they have like chicken breakfast sandwiches that are made with biscuits that are like this big around, and it's like you're gonna take half of it home.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh, I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. I wanted to just say it on the air for you because I want you. I'll have to text it to you later. But it's not far from you. It's like it's an hour drive. This place is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it's stick to your ribs.
Yeah.
Really good breakfast food. And my daughter is screaming her head off. It is what it is. What's interesting is it doesn't really come through. Only you guys get to hear it. So good on you guys for not letting it distract you. I keep wanting to say Hole in the Wall. That's wrong. That's a barbecue place here. Brick and Mortar. It's called Brick and Mortar. And that's the way you feel when you're done. So it's like you're so full, you can just walk away full.
There's a biscuit place in Seattle called Biscuit Bitch.
Ooh.
And and like everything on the menu is something bitch. So there's like everything has the word bitch in it, and so it's
so itchy.
It's supposed to be really great. Yeah,
we have like
love that.
Just a moment left before we rate the menu, but I wanted to know: would you guys ever go to one of those food places that berates you?
I've been.
No, I've heard of them,
and I was like, why am I here? Like the food's not that good to deal with this.
Oh, you've been to one?
I've been to 2.
Oh my god!
I've been. And one was actually like, it was a breakfast place. It was really good, but and they weren't that bad. And then I've been to one where they were like really bad and like the food was not that good. I was like,
so it's like Hooters style crap food,
right?
With a bad experience.
I didn't get the appeal. I was like, okay, whatever. Won't be back.
Right. Damn.
No, you'd better serve damn good food if you're going to insult me.
I was like, the one breakfast place, I was like, man, this is really good. And again, they didn't bother you a whole lot, so it wasn't that bad.
Would they like throw napkins at you or something? Like just
yeah.
That's
it was actually called Bob's Eat and Get the Hell Out. It was
it's a good way to clear tables.
Yeah.
All right, there's enough of your food eaten. Here's a doggy bag. Get the hell out. So, Yeah, I'm sure we could talk about food for the rest of the night. Like we could literally just do a podcast on food. I love food.
Mm.
But if we ever did that, we'd have to move all this shit to the kitchen and set it up to where we could cook together. You know, we could do that.
Maybe.
I can move my shit to the kitchen. I can wear my AirPods. I don't know.
There you go.
Let's rate this film. All the movie things. What is your rating of the menu? I have a sneaking suspicion.
Oh yeah, 9.5. Love it. So good. I mean, yeah, it was like, it wasn't even a question. Once I was done watching, I was like, damn, that was good. I wanted to watch it again, but I gotta go with this cheeseburger. Instead. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Like if a movie's gonna make me like want to go get a cheeseburger just from like seeing them make a cheeseburger on it, then I'm like, that's just like attached to that experience, like we had mentioned, you know, before. So yeah, and it was one of my favorites of last year. So yeah, 9.5.
All right. How about you, Mickey?
I think I'd go like 8.5 out of 10. Like I love the tension I felt throughout. I love Ralph Fiennes and Nicholas Hoult and Anna Taylor-Joy and everyone did a fantastic job. But yeah, solid movie.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give it a 7, solid 7. So that's on the watchable side, and definitely after this discussion, I might watch it again. So that's subject to change. But after my first experience, I'm going to give it a 7. But I don't think a 7's a bad rating. I think that's a very good rating, 3.5 stars, if you will. Or if I was going on their rating, it'd be what, a 2 and 2.2 or something in that range.
Yeah,
on the 3-star. 2 Michelin stars for this movie. So yeah, no, definitely worth a watch. I think everybody should give this movie a try because it might be right up your alley, or at least it's worth the experience. I will give that to the movie without a doubt. Real quick, because we don't do this often, but I kind of want to do this. Which was your favorite of the 3? I think we might have already mentioned this, but I want to do it officially. How about you, Brian? Favorite of the 3?
The menu.
The menu. How about you, Mickey?
Burnt.
And mine would be Chef. I actually like that best of the 3, so that's very cool.
I like it. Good job.
This is a great mix of movies. If you want to watch anything about food, I think anybody would enjoy these 3 flicks. So
yeah, it was fun connecting these two, and like,
oh yeah,
and they all kind of like just ramped up. If you watched them in like the order that we reviewed them, it was just like,
right. Yeah. So that's the order they were released. Okay. So I generally will review them in the order they're released on film or in theater. So. All right. Well, this has been episode 15 of season 2 of The Real Study, and we have appreciated you being here, and we hope you guys have a great week. We'll be next week with all sports films, and these have all been selected, handpicked by Mickey. I think we've got Hoosiers. I think we've got
The Wrestler.
And
Cool Runnings. The Wrestler.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies. I was like, we got to talk about it.
Oh my God, dude.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. All right. So catch us next week as we talk about sports movies. Have a great night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, guys.